One of the things that I read about you was that you worked in a sand mine when you were young, that you dug sand all day.
Yeah, that was growing up. I was about 10 years old when I started that because I was in the village and where I grew up. After leaving my aunt's house, I went to my grandma and we had to do something. We had to work to contribute at home, to buy oil, to buy food, and also for our scholarship, for books. So you have to work, even though that work was meant for adults. But we didn't have any option, so we take what we had at the time. I really looked back at that time, like just being doesn't agree with my parents, with my elderly. So it was like I was like a bad seed, among kids. At the point that when I go somewhere, if I sat here, somebody, he would just change his wallet and put it on his hand. I'm like, this kid is so ambitious. It's gonna end up bad, Nobody never understand like what was my dream. I'm like, I just have to change the situation. I just have to be something else. I believe that I can make my own destiny. I mean, nobody says it will be easy, but it's still possible, and that always my thought. And I think that's one of the things that make me decide to know to make the change. Like, I'm gonna do my own thing. And basically, when I came up with my dream to become a boxer, I'm like, what the is that? Who tell you it's possible for you? Look at you. Look at where you came from. How is it possible? Look in the entire country who had succeed with the boxing. Then they will take some example. They will say like, because we have some famous boxer there. Look at those guys. Their life is miserable. I'm like, yes, but my own doesn't have to end up like that. It can be different. I can take my own chance, and doesn't matter if I fail. I can still. At least I try. The loser is the guy who didn't try. If you try and didn't make it, you are not the loser. And maybe you're gonna do something else, but be in peace with yourself. Like, okay, I tried. I love what I'm doing. I love where I am, but I think I haven't achieved my dream. And I always watch boxing because my dream was to boxing. That was like my motivation to watch Mike Tyson on YouTube, because that's when I never watched a fight live, because I grew up in Africa and I didn't have a damn TV, nothing like that. I didn't like my life, and I always feel like I miss my childhood. Like it's something missing in it, because it's been too much frustration in my life. Like I had to work by that age, and it wasn't enough. Like when school starts all the time, I'm gonna go to school, and most of the time still didn't have a pen to take note or a notebook to write on it. Sometimes no shoes or clothes, just have to wear like my uniform was tear all over. I was frustrated to look around and see other kids looking good, They went in vacation to this family member, came back with all brand new stuff, and I was just there looking crappy I had to like take my old book and look for an empty page to take a note, hoping that when I have a book, I'll copy the note from this year in the new book. After a few weeks, this DJ Cameroon, who was the guy who I met first, told me like, look, listen man, you look really good. You have a very good boxing, but I'm gonna tell you something. I think the thing that you can do now, the most important thing who can help you to get out of this situation could be MMA. I was talking about like when I was kid, dreaming about somebody who could come there and do something for us, and unfortunately that person never came. And at some point, I think it was like 3 years or 4 years ago, and now I'm like, because when you grow up, I don't know if you have that feeling, but I always have this feeling of my childhood missing. Like there is something that I still have to fill up in my childhood box. It's been a long road, you know. Nobody could have imagined, basically, from looking back from my life, that we're gonna get here. You know, today I have to talk with great people around the world, you know, such as you. Right now, they are having issue, having fight for me, basically with the trilogy between Stipe and DC, because I should be next on the title line, but since they want to do Stipe and DC, that complicates. I can see that when I go back home in Cameroon, I can see like in people's eyes, like, oh, bring us that bed. I mean, they weren't gonna have it, they are not going to have the bed, but the meaning of it, the hope, the expectation, the thing that comes behind that, because they know my story. I'm not a fairy tale that they are reading in the book or watching on the movie. They know my story. Most of them even know me growing up with them in those situations. So it's kind of like very motivating, and also it could be like very inspiring for those kids who are back there in the same situation. What can they do? Nothing, you know, because most of the time it's gonna be, even with the money that I work, that they're gonna buy my pen or my book.
Yeah.
But you work sometime and they don't pay you right away. It's maybe after months, you know. So all the process, and sometimes they'll just kick you out from the school because of the scholarship fee. At the point that when I go somewhere, if I sat here, somebody, he will just change his wallet and put on his side. I'm like, this kid is so ambitious. It's gonna end up bad, you know. Nobody never understand like what was my dream. I'm like, I just have to change the situation. I just have to be something else. You know, I believe that I can make my own destiny. I mean, nobody says it will be easy, but it's still possible, you know, and that's always my thought. And I think that's one of the things that make me decide to make the change. I had two different feelings from that fight. First, obviously, I was very upset and disappointed that I didn't win the fight. And, you know, as everyone who is fighting for the title, you want to get out there as a victorious. But to be honest, I always look in that fight, and since fight day, just after the fight, I look at it and I'm like, this is good. Like, I learned just too much in that fight. Not even octagon time to learn, to understand what's really going on. Then now I'm just like, get there, I'm like, okay, let's fight this guy. Suddenly the guy is down. I'm like, what really happened? I don't care if he's down. Then I get in that fight and it was something different. By the moment that I left that octagon, I knew that, I mean, I have a better understanding of the game from more than what I have learned in the past 4 years. It was clear for me, it was said that I'm going to become a world-class boxer. I mean, that was said more than 10 years ago, you know. But I wanted a right opportunity because I realized that in Cameroon, I cannot have that opportunity. That thing that I'm looking for, I can't have it there. But I cannot just sit there and then wait for something to happen. No, I have to do something. Guess what? That was our opportunity when they don't want to work, so we have a chance to work. Otherwise, they will come back to their job. We will not have job, you know? So that was a good opportunity to work under the rain all the time, like get back home shaking because all day long it's been raining, so you have to stay active.